Okay, can you see that we are going live right now? Let me just check. All right, we are actually live. So
Yes, it's going live.
I just pass it over to Ashikin. Okay.
Okay, can we start now? It's live now, yeah? Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, everyone. First and foremost, let me apologize for some glitches of the starting of our webinar. Right. So, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, respected speaker, fellow lecturers, and of course, our beloved students and everyone who's currently catching us live from YouTube. Welcome to our webinar on professional etiquette in the workplace. Just a little bit information about our webinar for today. Right. This webinar is actually a collaborative project between UiTM and the industry in an effort to expose and educate our students on the requirements and workplace demand from the industry's point of view. This webinar in particular combines 15 classes of students from different faculties who are currently taking the ELC 650 subject on English for professional interaction. This webinar aims to cover the content that gravitates around the topic of professional etiquette in the workplace. Now, before we venture into a much serious business of the content of this webinar, let me draw a little bit of your attention. Well, have you ever wondered why some employees stand out among the ordinary? Simply because some are just normal employees, while some others are professional who are actually very well groomed with etiquette that is easily noticeable both when it is present and absent. So knowing the rules of professional etiquette are going to affect you more than most people as a future professional in your respective fields, inshallah, in the future. So in the next 1.5 hours, you will learn the tips and tricks of the workplace and professional etiquette from our respected speaker, Madam Sharifah. So before we start, allow me to introduce our lovely speaker for today. Madam Sharifah Nur Rashida Shed Mohri is a senior executive creative content at Petronas, where she's actually responsible for managing campaigns on social media. But before she joined Petronas, she was a journalist at TD Media and also have worked as the head of advertising and publicity at Medan Quantum. And interestingly, before she actually entered the industry, she was actually a former lecturer in UiTM Penang, where she taught for about 5 years before making a career shift to the industry. So Madam Sharifah has quite an experience dealing with various types of stakeholders. Now, before we proceed to our most anticipated webinar, just a gentle reminder to everyone that we will welcome questions by the end of this webinar session. So to those of you who are joining us in Zoom, you may ask your questions directly to our speaker. And to those of you who are watching us live on YouTube, you may type in your questions on the comment sections. I'm sure our speaker would be very much willing to clear your doubts, if any. So without further ado, let's get some secrets from somebody who's been there and done it. So would you please welcome Madam Sharifah? Madam Sharifah, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashikin, for that lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I hope that you are fresh today, and I hope that you had breakfast already. So thank you so much for having me in this webinar. Well, as mentioned, my name is Sharifah Nur Rashida, and I am currently a senior creative copywriter working in Petronas. And well, I've been working for about 12 years now. I think that says a lot about my age. So I was previously a lecturer in UiTM, teaching English subjects as well, like ELC subjects. And after that, I made a shift because I wanted to pursue my passion in communications and creative. So I've been in the industry for about 6 years now, and then so I've had a lot of experience working with different stakeholders, especially in dealing with customers, clients, management, and all that. So let me just share my screen before we begin. Hold on. Okay, our session today is going to be a very laid back session. So it's basically where today I'm going to talk about the professional etiquette at the workplace. It's going to be like a simple workplace survival guide. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in it, but because I've been working for a long time, so it's kind of like what I'm already used to. And I deal with a lot of stakeholders on a daily basis. So it is something, and I have to be professional all the time in my scope of work, in whatever situation. So so today, that's what I'm going to share, some of my experiences. Okay, there is no right or wrong in this case. So everyone experiences it differently. It all depends. It's something that you develop over time. It depends on the community, the culture of the place that you are in. Okay, let me just jump straight. So today, we're just going to talk about what is workplace etiquette. Very generally, and then after that we're going to look at the areas where etiquette matters, and then eventually we're going to go into the virtual etiquette setting, and after that we're going to end with a Q&A session. Okay, so what is workplace etiquette? Okay, basically a workplace etiquette is like a code of conduct that you have to adhere by. It's not really, it depends on what kind of place, what kind of organization that you are working in. Some of it for smaller companies, maybe it is the unwritten rule, but to some bigger companies, the code of conduct is specifically spelled out, the culture, the shared values, and stuff like that. Like, for example, companies like Petronas, we have very specific code of conduct that we have to adhere to as staff. Okay, why is this important? Okay, code of this workplace etiquette, it's very important because imagine a workplace setting where there are many people, okay, and with very different beliefs, very different behaviors. So if we don't have a specific set of behavior that we have to follow, then it's going to be very chaotic at the workplace. So it is very important that we have this. Although some of it is something that you learn along the ways. It is like, something that is unwritten, but it is still, eventually you adapt to it, Okay. Like in UITM, I think among the lecturers, there is a specific set of conduct, like it's not just how you behave, but it's how you dress. You have to dress professionally, you have to look a certain way, and you have to speak a certain way. So it depends on the industry and the nature of your work. So okay, let's move on to the next one. Why is it important? Because, well, basically when we work, we're going to be working a long time, and we spend most of our time at work. We spend like most probably 8, sometimes more than that, 8 hours in a day, and 5 days a week on a typical basis. So majority of our adult time is spent at work, and most of it, we deal with a lot of people on a daily basis. So it's important for us to be happy, right? For everything to work well, for us to be able to work well with one another. So it's very important for us to avoid workplace stress. Okay, because when you are stressed, when there's a lot of tension, and when the environment is very toxic, it's not going to be a productive setting for you to work in. Am I right? So it's very important that we have this kind of we have a certain etiquette that we follow, so that everyone is happy. Okay, and it is also very good for stakeholder management when dealing with people. Because when we deal with these people on a daily basis, and we want to have good relationship with them. So when we have good relationship with them, then it is easier for us to work together. So it's not just, we don't just interact with our bosses, but we interact with colleagues, with clients, and for like you guys, probably between you and your lecturers. So in every scope, there's a lot of stakeholder management, and stakeholder management is very, very important when it comes to the working place. So it is what that is going to make us work well with one another, and then it can increase our productivity at the workplace. Okay, because when you have good stakeholder management, when you have good etiquette, people are, it is easy for people to accept you and to work with you. People find it easy to work with you, and they like dealing with you. So that, in all, will make you more productive, make you happy, make you become more proactive, excited, and motivated to work at your workplace. Okay. All right. So if anyone wants to jump in, just jump in. I prefer that if there is a lot of interaction between us. Okay. So when it comes to etiquette, it's not just how you behave. Okay. Etiquette actually, it goes beyond behavior. So there's a lot of areas where it covers. Some that you may realize, some that you may not. The most obvious ones is definitely the interpersonal relationships between people. Okay, the boss, between you and your colleagues, between you and your subordinates, and between you and your clients. Okay, so whoever that you meet or you work with or that you deal with at the workplace, those people are all your stakeholders, let's say. Okay, so it's very important to have good professional interpersonal relationships. Okay, when we talk about interpersonal relationships, it doesn't mean that you have to be nice to everyone, but you have to be professional with them. Okay, at the workplace, you're gonna meet a lot of people. You know, it's not like and you can't choose who you work with most of the time. Okay, unlike at the university where you're at now, you have a choice of whom you wanna spend time with, who you wanna work with. But at the workplace, most of the time, you will have different dynamics, different characters, different types of people. And most of the time, it's not gonna be someone you're, I mean, not really to say you're not comfortable with, but a lot of the times it's some the kind of personality that you are not familiar with, and that you might need some strategy or some getting used to. Okay, so when you are professional, you can avoid whatever negativity of that can emit if we take in a lot of our personal opinion, personal feelings into our relationship at the workplace. So when it comes to being professional with relationships, it's very important. So I'm gonna go a bit more deep dive into this. Okay, the first thing that matters is maintain your professionalism. Whether you like the person or not, whether you are comfortable with that person, whether you, even if you like that person, okay, you have to maintain a certain level of professionalism, because I think when we meet people, we will always have certain perspective of them, whether we like them, whether we don't, or maybe whether we are comfortable with them or we're not. Okay, so people might think that it is harder to work with people. It's harder to be professional with people that we are not very comfortable with, or who we find a bit more difficult. But actually, personally, for me, I think maintaining professionalism with people that I like can be harder, because you might have a tendency to be biased towards that person, you know, or you might treat them a bit more favorably. So, and that is not professional, especially if you are in a position of power. Let's say if you're a boss and you have a group of subordinates under you, a group of staff. So if you favor one person more than the others, it's going to be very obvious. Okay, and if you cannot maintain like a certain level of professionalism, everyone can notice it, and there's going to be a lot of problems can arise if you don't maintain a certain level of professionalism. But it doesn't mean that we cannot be friends with our colleagues, with our bosses, with our subordinates. Actually, it's good. I think it's, for me personally, I am friends with a lot of my colleagues, with even my boss. I'm very close to them. We would go out and hang out, and we would have lunch every day outside of work. And we would even go out during the weekends. But when we're at the office, we would still have that professionalism instilled. Okay, so it means that even if I'm close to my boss, but at the office, I would still keep up the level of respect, even if my boss is younger than me. Okay, I would not be treating my boss like as if she is younger than me. So no matter what age you're at, it doesn't matter, but you still have to maintain that level of professionalism, because at my workplace currently, my boss is actually younger than me. So, but somehow I still see, we can still maintain that professionalism, and we're very close, but at the office, I would never cross that boundary. It is something like an unspoken rule. Outside work is different, but at work, we switch into a different mode, okay? So if you're close to someone, your colleagues or your boss or your subordinates, it's okay. But at work, you have to be neutral. You have to be, you have to not be biased, and you have to avoid showing favoritism. It means, like, for example, if you have projects, okay, let's say if I'm a boss and I have projects, and I want to give it only to people that I like, because I want to make sure that these people get the best KPI, okay, get better ratings than the others. So that is considered as bias, being biased. So you have to be neutral. You have to be able to give the same kind of opportunity to everyone. All right. So I hope that is clear. So for me personally, it is harder to deal with people that I like, because when I like those people, I want to be always nice. But at the office, you can't always be friendly. You can't always have fun with your friends, because when, let's say, because at the office, a lot of things are going on. If you are always biased, it's gonna be harder to work, because you need to get things done. You need to get things done, and let's say if you are close to someone and you feel like, oh, I cannot say this because I cannot give feedback, especially constructive feedback, because I like him or her, so I don't want to hurt their feelings. So then I wouldn't be effective, and I wouldn't be neutral, because if you're a professional, then you can still do that. You can avoid the personal feelings aside, and you can still give constructive feedback. You can tell your colleagues or your subordinates or that, okay, what you're doing is good, but I need you to work on this aspect. All right. And then we talk about working with people that you like. But now on the other side of it is working with people who are difficult. This is something that is going to be that's going to be something that is unavoidable, okay? Because you meet a lot of people. You're going to meet hundreds of people, and depending on the nature of your work, on the organization that you're in, you are probably going to meet maybe easily more than 10, 20 people in a day, or even more than that. If you like I think lecturers meet hundreds of people on a daily basis, right? With students. So out of these many people, there is going to be people who you might find difficult to work with. It doesn't mean that these people are bad, but it's just that you're not used to the way that they work, the way that they behave, or the way that they speak. So this is very natural. And so it takes, sometimes you can get your feelings, I mean, if you are not careful, if you're not being professional, your feelings can get affected, okay? Your feelings can get affected, and then if you have personal feelings if you take in your personal feelings at the workplace, you might you might be saying things that are wrong, saying things that are not suitable. So working with people you are not comfortable with, it is very important to always keep in mind that you have to maintain your professionalism. Okay, because no matter what, you will work and see with these people on a daily basis, or you're going to work in future projects. Let's say, even if the person is not from your department, it's from another department, and you don't work with that person on a daily basis, but you must always keep in mind that you might be moved around, or you might have different projects in future that will require you to have to collaborate with this person. So always maintain professionalism, because you never know when you'll cross my path, or or maybe one day you'll be working together, and or maybe you'll be reporting to that person in the future. So we have to avoid any personal feelings when it comes to this kind of situation. So it doesn't mean that you don't have your opinion, but it is just important that you have to maintain professionalism. Let's say if you find it difficult to work with this person, maybe the way that you work are different, the way that you communicate are different. Okay, the best thing that you can do is probably talk things out, okay, in a professional manner. Let's say after working on one project, okay, and you find that the communication is not as effective as it should be. So what you can do is, after the project, you give your feedback to this person, okay, but in a nice and professional way, by putting negative feelings aside. So, like, for example, say that, okay, thank you so much for working on this project with me, but I feel like moving forward, maybe if we work on something in the future, I would prefer if you communicate about specific details, specific changes that we have regarding this, regarding the project, to me directly. Let's say something that is actionable, something that that person can work on in the future. But don't say things like, oh, I don't like working with you because you're so slow. And you never tell me things that I need to do. Okay, so avoid emotional feedback like that. Okay, and then next, when it comes to the office, there's going to be a lot of people, and then a lot of people come and go, especially new people. You always try to be inclusive, especially if you get new colleagues or a new boss. When you are inclusive, you make those people feel like a part of you, a part of the team, a part of the family. Because, you know, being a new person especially is going to be hard. One day when you get into a new workplace, I'm sure that you'll be nervous, you'll be scared, you'll be wondering whether you are accepted or not by your colleagues. Imagine if you go into a new place and everyone just do their own thing and then they ignore you. So that wouldn't be, you know, that you'll feel a bit uncomfortable. You wouldn't feel accepted, right? So when you are in a position where you get new people coming in, whether they are your boss or your subordinate or your colleague, always try to include them. Be inclusive, because everyone likes to feel accepted. Okay, and what else? If you are the one who is already in the team, you're more comfortable than a person coming in. So you have to make the extra effort. Okay, it's going to be easier for you to take people in than for a new person to try and push their way into a place. And then being inclusive here doesn't just involve people who are new, but also people from different backgrounds and people who are of different ranks. So at the workplace, there's going to be a lot of different ranks, right? You're going to have your non-executives, executives, your managers, senior managers, and general managers, or whatever positions. Okay, so especially this is, I think, it doesn't matter where you are. It's good for you to be inclusive of everyone. It means that whatever position that you're in, especially if you're in a position of power, ensure that you include those who are above and those who are under you. Okay, so you include everyone in. So when you have that kind of dynamic, everyone is more comfortable and everyone feels like this is a good environment to work in, and everyone feels included, feels trusted. Okay, like for example, maybe at a workplace, you have let's say non-executives. So you give them the same kind of trust and respect as well as you do to your executive staff. Okay, it means even if the ranks are different, but you still value what they do. You still show them that they are important. Whatever that they produce is important. Okay, all right. Because at the workplace, everyone matters. It doesn't matter where you're at. Even if I would say even the cleaner at the workplace play a big role, because without cleaners, then you wouldn't have a clean environment to work in, and a dirty and nasty environment would not be ideal for us to work in. So everyone matters. It doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter what they do. Even if they just make your coffee, that person matters, because without your coffee, you're going to turn into a monster, right? Okay, so always be inclusive, always be nice to everyone, be professional. Okay, all right, next would be avoid gossip. I think this is like one of the biggest things at a workplace. Gossip it's so easy to get into gossip. Okay, whenever you don't like something, whenever you don't like someone, whenever you're upset about something, the first thing that you feel is like complain to other people. Complaints, it's not to say that complaints are bad, but complaints can lead to gossip, because you would have a tendency to talk bad about that person. Maybe you don't like the way that person work with you. You find it not as effective, but then when you complain to other people, then it can grow, and then you can start talking about their personality. You talk about other things outside work that you don't like about them, and that's bad, because gossip doesn't stop. When you gossip to one person, it's gonna trickle, or it is like wildfire, so it's gonna spread. Okay, you don't know where that gossip is gonna end, and then you don't know what kind of effect it's gonna give, because the danger about gossiping is sometimes it's just at that point of time, that is just how you feel. Maybe you're frustrated with work on that day, on that particular project with one person, but if you don't maintain your professionalism, you go to people and like complain about them. Other people who has no judgment, who are neutral about this person, might develop some sort of judgment or some sort of discomfort towards this person. Okay, so unknowingly you help create that kind of feeling inside other people, and that's not right, because we can't avoid it, because we're humans, right? We get affected by by the stories that people tell us. So at the workplace, we have to avoid that, because sometimes it's just a one-time thing. Everyone is having a bad day and things is just not working. But on other days, things are good. Maybe the next day you are okay already. I mean, you feel like, I've let everything out off my chest, and now today is a new day. I'm gonna be productive. I'm gonna be nice to this person again. We have no problems. We have made amends, but you don't know what other people are feeling. You don't know, because some people might feel like, yeah, this person, when you talk about this person A, I've heard things about person A. He is difficult to work with. Okay, so be careful with him. So other people already has that perception, because they don't go through it personally, but they are affected by the stories that are told. Okay, so try to avoid gossip, because gossiping can lead to a very toxic environment. And at the workplace, we want to avoid toxic environment as best as we can. And especially if it's within your team. Okay, instead of gossiping, maybe try to work things out. If you feel like, you know, things are not working with some people, try to talk things out in a professional way. That would be better than gossiping about them to other people. Or maybe you can even go to your boss and ask your boss to help mitigate the situation, to overcome the situation. Okay, and then of course gossip also when we talk about gossip, sometimes it's gossip that is about personal stuff about other people. You hear personal stuff about other people and then you share it with other people. So that is also something that you have to avoid, because you don't know whether that story is true or not, especially if you hear it third hand. So you don't know whether the story is true or not. So it's best not to spread it even further. If you want, you can check in with that person and ask them directly and just to confirm. But if it's a personal thing, maybe it's best to avoid, because at the workplace, we try to keep things only professional. We talk about only things that are work related. It's not like you cannot talk at all. You can talk, you can have fun, you can enjoy each other's company, but it cannot be the same as when you are talking outside of work on a personal level. Okay. And then lastly, be courteous to all. I think however you want to be treated, if let's say nobody likes to be treated badly, right? Like if you go to work, the best thing is if everyone greets you and everyone says hello and everyone is like all smiley and all productive and nice. You would want to go to work with that kind of treatment. So, but you have to keep in mind that you have to do it the same way as well. Okay, when you go to work, be courteous to everyone. Doesn't matter who they are, what ranks they are, they're in, and so just make sure that you do this. Treat people how you want to be treated. Okay, of course, you have to maintain the level of professionalism. It means that if you like to be treated nicely, just ensure that you do it the same way. But of course, don't go overboard with niceness. You don't have to buy everyone presents or buy everyone food in the morning just to be courteous. A simple smile and a simple greetings, and communicate with them, ask them how their day is. It's fine enough. Okay, it's simple enough. Even a smile can help brighten up the work environment. It can brighten up someone's day. Okay, all right. Next, right. Professional behavior at the workplace is definitely very important. So this is for the first one is you have to control your emotions. Okay, we are human beings, and every day we are, we are not just happy every single day. Our emotion changes depending on on the situation, on our environment, whatever situation that we are going through. So at the workplace, it is important to put whatever personal feelings or personal emotions that you have at the moment outside, because it's like putting on a mask. You're not trying to change yourself, but you gotta separate both personal and professional. So for example, if you have problems at home with your children, with your spouse, or with your parents, okay, probably in the morning you wake up late and then your children are giving you a hard time. When you send them to school, they're like crying or fighting, and then you're already stressed out, and then traffic was bad. So your day starts off really bad. Okay, and you have all these problems, maybe monetary problems, you have bills to pay. So these are all personal feelings, personal problems. But once you get to work, you have to put it in a box and then put it aside for a while, for 8 to 9 hours. Okay, for that period of time, it is important for you to control your emotion, okay, and not to indulge in it. It doesn't mean that you are not allowed to have emotions. You can have emotions, but you have to know how to compartmentalize it and separate it in this kind of situation. Like, even if you have a bad day, you cannot go to the office and be angry at everyone, you know? Like, you go to the office, you're having a bad day, and then you shout at people, you know? Because I'm not okay. I don't feel okay right now. I don't feel okay, so I feel like I deserve to shout. I need to let this emotion out, okay? So that is not appropriate, because those at the office, they, first of all, they're not responsible for whatever problems or negative emotions that you have. So and everyone has their responsibilities, and you have your responsibility. You have to deliver at the office. And when you have negative emotions, let's say, you will find it harder to work, to be effective, to be efficient if you don't control your emotions. So it's not, so you can have emotions, but compartmentalize it, and you can put it aside, try to put on your professional mask and be professional at the office. And then when you go back home, then you can indulge in whatever feelings that you have. In the car, if you want to shout, you want to scream, that's fine. Okay, you can shout, you can scream, you can cry, you can listen to sad music or rock music, and then indulge in that emotion. Or even before you go to work, maybe you have a good cry. If you're feeling very overwhelmed, sit in your car, have a cry, and then when you go back to the office, you smile and just act as if like nothing is wrong in your life. Okay, and this is something that is very important, because we know as an adult, we'll go through so many different changes in emotions on a daily basis. So it's important that you control your emotions. So in order to be able to be productive and be effective. Okay. And then next, I'm going to talk about giving credit. Okay. Giving credit here is when you do work, giving credit is very important. It is something that is necessary, especially if you are working with other people. You know, it shows that you appreciate what they do, and appreciate their effort, and it makes them more motivated to work with you in the future. So let's say the easiest thing that I can relate to right now is when you work in a project with other people. Okay, so you will work. You most of the time you won't be working alone. Not a lot of jobs require you to work alone at the office. So most of the time you will work with someone. Okay, and whatever it is, no matter how the project goes, whether it is successful, whether you need to work on it even more, whether it is a failure, always give credit when it's due. Okay, no matter, there's always going to be something that is good out of that collaboration. Okay, so give credit, say thank you for whatever effort that person has given you. Okay, let's say if you work in a group and then your boss or your management praise you for the job well done. Okay, don't just take credit for yourself, but credit the whole team members. Okay, especially you are working within a team where you are the manager, you're the boss, and then you have subordinates who have done a lot of the work with you, who have supported you throughout the project. Always give credit to your team members. Okay, this seems like this is a very simple thing. Giving credit where it's due is something that is very simple, but often overlooked by people. Okay, because people are busy. Because especially if you're working in a corporate setting, everyone is always running here and there. Everything is always very rushed, or there's a lot going on at the same time. So sometimes you tend to forget these things. You forget to say thanks. Okay, like everyone has been working so hard day and night, sometimes not sleeping, working on a project, and then usually the ones presenting, there'll be a lead a lead who presents this project, whether among your colleagues or whether it is your boss. And then once you get credit for the management, there are times when you forget to relay those credit to the rest of your team, okay? Or maybe because you got excited, you forgot to mention that, oh, I wouldn't be able to do this without the rest of my team because I'm only one person, you know, because in the working environment, every little function plays a part in making something work. Okay, so always give credit when it's due, because it's going to be very good for morale, very good. You know, it shows that you appreciate whatever that person has done, whatever that your team has done, and then it makes it easier for us to work together in the future. Okay, when people are motivated, when people are happy, when people feel valued and appreciated, you know, it's more easier for you to work on other things in the future. So it is something that that is important, and it's very good to when you give credit, make sure that you try to put it in words, so that they can use that for the future. Let's say if they want to try to get new job, they want to try to gain a new position, to try a new position. You know, these are the things, the credits or feedbacks, positive feedbacks that they receive are the things that are going to support them and support us as well whenever we go elsewhere. So always give credit. So it makes it easy. You can do it with simple words, but makes a lot of difference. Gives a lot of value to a person. Okay. All right. And then that was giving credit where it's due. Now I'm going to talk about taking accountability or owning something. This is when it comes to because at the workplace, when you're doing something, you're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. And our work are most of the time not perfect. There'll be flaws. And there are times when some of these flaws, some of these errors can be very, very glaring. And one thing that I've learned over time is no matter what happens, no matter what kind of trouble you're in, it's always important to take accountability for the errors. Okay, you have to own it. It's not just owning something that is positive, but you have to own something that is negative as well. Take accountability. If let's say you've done something wrong at the office, admit it. Just take the ownership. Like let's say you break the printers at the office. Don't just pretend like, okay, let's say everyone wants to print something this morning and then suddenly they found out that the machine is broken. Just report and admit that, oh, I'm sorry, I used it wrongly and now it's broken. It was my fault. But I'll take accountability for it. But don't go and just keep quiet and pretend that you don't know anything. Because when you own something, then it is easier for us to mitigate the problem, you know. And owning to your own faults is not wrong, okay? Because everyone understands that, you know, everyone is human. Humans make errors, make mistakes, but owning it shows that you are responsible. And then when you own something and you take action to correct these errors, people will respect you even more than before. Okay, shows that you are accountable for your actions. So it is very important to not be afraid. Whenever you do something wrong, just own it, say sorry, take action to correct the issue if possible. Okay, next, another professional behavior that you should have is to focus in meetings, during meetings and presentations. I know, you know, when you work, sometimes you'll have like me, I have like 3, 4, 5 meetings in a day sometimes. So it is, okay, we have physical meetings, and then nowadays we have a lot of virtual meetings, right? So sometimes it's hard to focus, especially when you are bogged down with a lot of deadlines. You have a lot of deadlines and it's hard for you to focus during meetings. But be professional and always make sure that you are focused. Avoid distractions like your phone, your laptop, okay? Avoid checking your phone, checking social media. You know, there is that tendency because sometimes in a meeting, it's not like you, your issues are not always addressed at that point of time, because like in 1 hour, there's going to be a lot of agenda being talked about, and not everything is going to be related to you. But no matter what, you have to be focused, because at least you know, you are in the know of what is happening within your team, within your department, within your organization. So it's always important to make sure that you maintain focus, take down notes, and give your attention. And then one more thing, it's not just to gain whatever insight from the meeting, but it's also respectable. Okay, like it's the same as being in a classroom setting when your lecturers are teaching. You have to give them, because your lecturers are standing in front of you and giving you whatever that they have prepared. They took a lot of hours and effort to prepare something for you. Okay, the same goes for a presentation. The presenter has prepared a lot of things, have taken a lot of hours out of their time to work on something. So the least you could do is to provide your attention just by focusing on that person, maintaining eye contact, maybe nodding your head here and there. But if you talk to other people, if you ignore them, if you look at your phone, look down your phone, you know, the presenter who is sitting in front, or your lecturer who is sitting in front, who is standing and talking to you, they look at you, they can see that you're not focused, they can see that you are distracted or talking to other people. It's just not very professional. You know, it'll give like, you know, this person has worked so much, has put a lot of effort on something. And then when you see all these people are not focusing, are not paying attention. So it's going to be very demotivating and very disheartening for these people. Okay, so it's always important to maintain professional and to listen and to give your attention in meetings. Okay, and don't just, and then especially if it requires you to be interactive, don't just sit there and, you know, ignore them. Respond in a positive manner, in a even constructive manner whenever necessary. Okay. So next, I hope everyone is still with me. I've been talking nonstop since just now. Okay. Next is keeping things professional when it comes to communicating via emails and messaging. Even on WhatsApp, okay, platforms like WhatsApp or Microsoft Teams, okay, always ensure that you respond to whatever inquiries, to whatever questions, to whatever emails. And if possible, do it promptly. Even if you don't have the time to do it, you can draft a short reply saying that you are currently occupied or busy with something, but you'll get back to that person as soon as possible, as soon as you can. Okay. Sorry, there's a bit of distraction on my end right now. So okay, and then all right. Okay, responding to emails, yeah, and also messages. It's very important because, like, you know, especially now that we are working virtually, a lot of us are still working virtually. I'm sorry because my son is here. Always respond to your emails, because when you are working virtually, you basically don't have a friend. You know, you are not communicating with people face to face, and then it's harder to be personable when it comes to virtual setting. And so your presence is not known. It's not like when you have when you're in a physical setting, when you're face to face, you can see that person. You can feel the presence. But in a virtual setting, you don't see anyone. It's like you're working alone, right? So when you get messages or you get emails, always respond, because otherwise people don't know whether you have received it or not, whether you have read it or not, whether you are working on something or not, especially when it comes to something that is urgent. like me, for example, because I'm doing communications, I'm a copywriter. I'm basically the frontliner for my for anything that is communications related. So I get like more than 10, 20 emails that is directed to me on a personal level. Okay, well, so it is hard to keep track of. I'm not gonna lie, because a lot of communications in a day I have to sift through. No matter how busy I am, by the end of the day, I have to ensure that I reply to it at least. Okay, and or if I don't have time to email them, to reply to their emails, I at least would message them personally on Microsoft Teams and then tell them that I'm working on it, I'm looking at it, but right now I'm a bit packed, I'm a bit tied up with something, so that they know that I have received whatever messages that they have for me, and that I'm doing my best to tend to it. Okay, and then next is chit chats, talking. At the office, because we want to get things done, we have to work, and so it's best to reserve chit chats, personal chats, goofing around for break times, because otherwise you couldn't get work done. I'm a very talkative person, and I'm very close to my colleagues, to people in my department, people in other departments. So I naturally have a lot to say to them. People would stop by, and then we would chat for a bit. But we try not to do it as best as we can, but we do it over lunchtime or something. But sometimes we have to be mindful as well, because we're only human, and sometimes we do things that we say that we shouldn't do. So, but it's best that you reserve chit chats for break time, so that you can get your work done. Okay. Now, I'm gonna talk about giving feedback. Okay, giving feedback is something that is very common and very common, and a very good practice at the workplace. So in not every company or organization practices this, but within my own place, the place that I'm working right now, this is a very important element in our workplace, giving feedback, whether it is positive or constructive. Okay, because feedback basically helps you grow. Whatever feedback, whether especially constructive, like it helps you to change and be a better version of yourself. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about giving feedback, because this is a two-way thing, right? When you give feedback, always start with something positive. Okay, always start with something positive. Commend that person on what good job that they have done before you move on into something that is constructive for them to work on. And when you give it back, be specific and objective. Don't say that I don't like, I find that when you work, you are slow. Don't say things like that, but be specific. Like, let's say, how, in what way are they slow? Maybe, well, I like the quality of the products that, the quality of work that you provide, but I need you to update me from time to time of your progress, okay? Because then I would know at what stage you are in, and I would know if there at any point I have to intervene or I have to help you out, okay? So it's very important to avoid any emotions, any personal emotions, like words, adjectives, like feelings, that is racist feelings. I don't like, I don't, I am not, I find that you are slow, lazy, things like that. Avoid things that have a lot of emotional connection, Just be objective and specific, and preferably do it face to face. Although there are times when you are required, especially if it's a KPI thing. It's like an evaluation that you have to submit to your management. Then you might have to do it via written form or something. But if possible, when you have feedback within your team, with your boss, you can even give feedback to your boss. Like my boss would always ask me for feedback. And as it's very hard when your boss asks you for feedback, You can say positive feedback, but how do you give constructive feedback to your boss? It can be done, but like I said, be specific and objective instead of pointing fingers or putting a lot of emotions into it. Okay, and then the other side of it is for us to receive feedback. The other side of it is receiving feedback. Okay, when you receive feedback, okay, sorry, working from home. Sorry. Okay. Sorry for this minor this distraction. It is, I'll give you a case, okay? Okay. All right. When you receive feedback, okay, be open-minded and control your reaction. Okay. No, just keep in mind that whenever you receive feedback, whether it is easy to accept positive feedback, but when it comes to constructive feedback, you have to be open-minded, and because you have to keep in mind that these kind of feedbacks, they are not to target your flaws, but it is more to work on yourself. It is to help you grow further in the company. You know, when you receive feedback, always take it positively. You know, when you receive this feedback, it means that you have something to work on, and then and do some sort of action on it. You can reflect on it and then make yourself better in the future. So feedback is not to point fingers, okay, but it's to help you grow as a person, as a worker. Okay, and when you take constructive feedback, it's important to take it but to listen actively and to acknowledge it and to not argue with whatever that person is saying. Let's say if your boss says that, okay, CP, okay, I'm referred to as CP. People know me as CP at my workplace. So CP, you're always late to meetings. Can you come earlier? Because like we don't want everyone to be waiting for you. So instead of arguing, saying that, but I have a lot of work to do. Okay, after this, I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of work to do. I have deadlines to keep up with, and so they would have. I mean, these are their deadlines anyway because they are my clients. So let them wait for 5 to 10 minutes. So it's not healthy to do that. Instead, you just accept that feedback and try to work your way around it to ensure that in the future you don't do it anymore. That you don't come late anymore. Maybe you become more organized. Try not to take the feedback in a personal way, because just keep in mind that it's not to target you, but it's just to help you grow further. So you acknowledge the feedback and you do some action, follow through with those feedback, to ensure that when so that you don't work on it, you don't do it anymore. And then in the future, after a few weeks or a few months, go back to the same person, to the person who gave you the original feedback, and ask them whether they have seen any changes, whether they have seen any improvements on that side. Okay. Sorry. Sorry for the distraction. Even at home, while working from home, this is the kind of challenges that I experience on a daily basis. Okay, because I don't have a babysitter, so. All right. Okay. Next. Okay. What do we still have? Okay. Privacy. Okay. At the workplace, it's very important that we maintain some sort of privacy. First of all, the most important thing is to ensure that you keep your work off social media. Okay, in a lot of organizations, I think this is a very strict rule. Okay. All right. Okay. Keep work off your social media. Okay. This is something that is very, very important, because you don't know if even if you share a picture of you in a meeting, during a meeting, and then let's say the background is a presentation slide that has a lot of sensitive information. So you have to be careful with even something that as simple as that, about where you at, whether you are sharing a lot of some information about your work that can ruin the reputation of your company. Okay, that can reveal any sensitive data. So it's very important to keep work off social media. Like me personally, I try to avoid talking about work in my social media, and I don't even like to refer to where I work in the social media. But yeah, of course, if you go for events, functions like a raya celebration, then that's fine. You know, you take pictures, you look good, and you're having fun with your colleagues, with your boss, with your subordinates, and that's fine. You know, just selfies, it's okay. But when it comes to maybe milestones, achievements, or try to keep it very generic and you know, not to reveal too much information. Let's say if you got promoted to become a certain position, especially if that position is a position of power, try to avoid from announcing it, because you don't know who is looking at social media. So try to keep your work life and your personal life separate. Okay, even on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is for work related stuff. But when you share about certain milestones, achievements, try to keep the details of it to the minimum. Okay, you can address it because you want to showcase yourself, showcase your work. You want to showcase your capability so that other people, other companies, organizations will be able to see you and hire you. But try to minimize the risk of leaking something that is sensitive. Okay. All right. And then other than that, you have to keep sensitive information confidential and secure. Like for example, your laptop, the data inside your laptop, or maybe your pen drive, or maybe your pen drive. So keep these things secure and safe from prying eyes or people who are outside of the organization. Like for us, I mean, especially like in the corporate setting, we are assigned our own laptops. Okay, we're given our own laptops. We have a very strict security and confidential in place with this. So we can't even use like thumb drives, external thumb drives, for fear of leaking sensitive information. So it is our responsibility as workers to keep the privacy of our company, to keep all sensitive information and data secure. It is, I mean, it might not be spelled out, but it is our responsibility to do it, to ensure that we safeguard our company's property and our company's information. Okay. And then next is be mindful of your email recipients. When you do emails, okay, there's a tendency when you are in a workplace, there's a tendency you're going to CC a lot of people. When you, especially if you're working on a big project, okay, big projects, small projects, there's a tendency that you are gonna CC a lot of people. So a lot of the times you have to ensure that you are not keeping someone who is unnecessary in the loop, because most of the times you'll be sharing information that are sensitive, information that is only for you and your team or for your people in the project to know. So always be mindful of this, because I think a lot of times things like this can happen, and then like things that are not to be shared to others shared. Okay, always also check the names of the people that you are, the names or emails addresses of the people that you are emailing, because sometimes a lot of people have common names, some people have common names, and you tag the wrong person. So always double check, because it has happened a lot of times, even while I was working. Okay, next is don't be nosy. majority of the workplace has open concept, an open concept work environment. And so, it is easy for us to take a sneak peek at what people are doing. We can have a look, we can like glance through the laptops and see what they are doing, whatever that is on their screen. So try not to be nosy. Always respect the privacy of your colleagues, okay? I know back in UITM when I was working there, we all have our own individual offices. So privacy is not an issue. But in a corporate setting, because there's a lot of people, usually you get cubicles, you share the cubicles with people. So it's very important to keep a level of privacy, although there's no walls dividing us, but ensure that you don't just simply go to other people and take a sneak peek at what they're doing, look at their spreadsheet, look at their documents. So always try not to be nosy. And not being nosy here is also, it covers, asking things that are too sensitive. Like, let's say, asking people about what they got for their KPI. Like, oh, what kind of grading did you get this year? Did you get good recommendations by your boss? Or did you get, what kind of bonus did you get this year? Or what kind of salary do you have? Things like that are very sensitive, and you will be overstepping your boundary if you ask these kind of questions. So always try not to be nosy and keep things like this private, and try not to pry into other people's affairs. Okay, so this is partly respecting personal space and boundaries as well. So make sure that you have that in place, because it is what is professional of you. People will respect you more if you do this. Okay, all right. Hope everyone is still with me. Okay, next, when it comes to professionalism, it's not just like I mentioned, it goes beyond behavior, goes beyond how you act, how you behave at the workplace. But being professional also incorporates what you wear and your hygiene, okay? First of all, when you go to the office, of course, you need to be clean. You need to shower, okay? Maybe in our country, in Malaysia, because it's very hot and humid, showering is a necessity, no one will go out of the house without showering, because otherwise, it's going to be very hot and sticky. But in a lot of countries, showering is not a necessity, because especially in colder climate countries, right? Because they probably shower once every few days. But whatever it is, no matter where you are, always ensure that you are clean. And when you go to the office, means you take a shower, you brush your teeth, ensure that you are well groomed, your hair is not as messy. If you wear shawls or scarves, that your scarf is well groomed, looks well placed on you, and it's ironed. Okay, so this is very important, because you are at a workplace, you need to look professional, because you'll be meeting a lot of people. Of course, there are some works where you don't meet with people at all. But when you are working in a corporate setting, or if you are like your lecturers over here who deal with a lot of people, when you deal with a lot of people, you need to have a professional appearance, right? So you always need to keep yourself professional. And like for me, when I was in UITM, I definitely wore a lot of baju kurung, a lot of the national attire, and sometimes suits, because I need to look presentable to my students, so that my students will find me a bit pleasing on the eyes, because I cannot go to the office, I cannot go to my class without my lipstick, without putting on a bit of makeup. Doesn't mean that I have to put on like a very, I don't have to look like an artist with a lot of eyeshadow, glitters and stuff, but at least I have to look presentable. And if I look like a zombie, then, I feel like the students won't give as much, will find me unappetizing to look at. So you want to look professional, you want to look the part. you have to look presentable. So when it comes to the dress code, it depends on where you work. Like for government employees, you have a strict dress code that you have to abide to, you know, like baju batik, and the national wear for women, like baju kurung, baju kebaya, and then for men, shirt, neckties, and pants. So, but in a corporate setting, it depends on the nature of your organization. So a lot of organizations now have a more relaxed take to the dress code. Even like where I work, it's more flexible. We have flexi wear, so it doesn't have to be all corporate all the time. But even if we have to wear jeans, we have to make sure that the jeans are not torn jeans, you know, jeans that are torn, where you can see the skin inside. Okay, you have to wear jeans that are more pleasing to the eyes, and then wear a blouse, you know, something that is dressy, not like something tattered, not like you cannot go to the office wearing t-shirt bands, you know, like you have death metal t-shirt logo on the front of your t-shirt, you know. Although it really depends on the kind of dress code that your company or your organization allows. So this will definitely be spelled out in when you go into the organization. So dress to suit your work environment. Okay. And then next, when it comes to hygiene, please ensure that you smell good. Okay, like you wear your deodorant, make sure they don't have an unappetizing body odor. We don't know. We wouldn't know whether we have body odor or not. But whether you have or you don't, just ensure that you use soap and deodorant. And then if you're not wearing any, okay, if you're not wearing this scarf, ensure that you shampoo your hair and at least, okay, ensure that you shampoo your hair on a daily basis, or at least keep it nice and not greasy. All right, and you also have to try to smell good, but not too good that people can smell you from a mile away. Okay, don't put on like 10 sprays of perfume from the back of your neck to the whole of your body. Don't shower with perfume, because other people might get headaches or from it. Okay, so smell good, but not too much. And then make sure that it's not too strong. Okay, and then next is when you're sick, the best thing the professional thing to do is just stay at home and rest. Okay, if like now, since the pandemic, I think a lot of us are working from home. So, and especially after the pandemic, I think people are more scared of people who are sick. So it is definitely best that you stay at home when you're sick, even if it's just the sniffles. You know, things are more convenient now. We can work remotely. We're more efficient that way. So either you work from home, or if you're too sick and not productive, go to the clinic and get a medical leave. So because if you go to work while you're sick, it doesn't mean that you are being productive, but it just means that you are being unreasonable, because other people will be uncomfortable with you being sick, because they'll be afraid to be close to you when you're coughing, when you're sneezing. People are afraid that they're going to catch something from you, and then you won't be as productive anyway. So it is best to stay home when you're sick. Okay, I know that sometimes we have a lot to do, but just try to avoid doing this, because it's more professional actually to stay at home. Okay, and then next is other than keeping yourself clean and organized, and other than looking good, you have to ensure that your workstation is clean, especially if it's a shared workstation. Like the open concept where you share cubicles, everyone can see whatever that you have on your cubicles. Keep it clean and organized. At least it's not sore. It doesn't make other people feel uncomfortable. Especially if you have like a lot of food, a lot of documents, you scatter it around. Ensure that you don't do that. Make sure it is at least pleasing to the eyes. Okay. Dr. Ashikin, do you have any questions so far?
Actually, so let's just have some intervention here, yeah, where we can two questions first before we proceed to the next content.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we have a question here from Nur Emiliana. And the question reads, what if we are unable to assist that person with the project? However, people refuse to help him or her and continue to cause problems while working. So what's your take on
that? Okay. If you are really unable to do it, this is a tricky one because usually you don't get much of a choice. But if let's say things really can't work between you and that person, for me, the best course of action is to talk things out with your direct superior, to your boss. Okay, because I have, based on my personal experience, I have encountered this where I find it very difficult, very difficult to work with a person, and I am having a lot of problems dealing with this person. I will go to my boss and explain my situation and ask my boss to intervene, at least be a mediator and try to help overcome the situation. But most likely, most of the time, it is hard to actually reject something. You have to still, because like a lot of assignments are not reassigned. Okay?
Nyonya Weekend, itulah semalam balik program, tak je selesai pun. Balik tu letas tu tidur. Penat gila. Semalam kita orang pergi pagi. 3 pagi kita orang kemas, baru pukul 3 pagi baru balik. Mana mau benda.
I guess
3 pagi macam tu lah kita orang kemas sebab kan habis pukul 11 tapi kan postmortem lama. Kita orang ada postmortem tu macam yang salah yang after program.
Yeah.
Oh ni kan program final. Hotel lama siap. So, kita orang dah kemas house tapi postmortem jam sebab time tengah makan. Kita macam sambung kemas yang tengah makan. Lama sikit dah balik. Sebab kan hari ni unit majlis nak ambil barang-barang tu. Dia yang nak kena kemas cepat barang-barang ni. Petani pun juga kan? Orang terus main lah petani. Wow. Right.
Some of the challenges of virtual presentations, like on my side, my son is keeps on disturbing.
It's somehow inevitable, yeah. So I mean, this is a reminder, please, everyone, can you please mute your microphone unless if you want to ask questions directly to our speaker. Thank you very much. All right, so please.
It's okay.
Sorry.
All right. No problem. I have some challenges on my end as well. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Yes, please. Okay, so this just remind everyone that you may ask your questions directly if you wish to our speakers, or you can also type in your question in the comment sections on our YouTube channel. Okay, proceed with you, Madam Sharifah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. Just now, going back to the question just now, when in a working environment, okay, sometimes, you know, when you really cannot work with someone, but most of the time you can't really avoid doing that. You don't have a choice. It depends. If you have more colleagues within the same role, then maybe you can be reassigned to work with someone else. But a lot of the times you can't. So going to your boss and help, asking your boss to mitigate the situation. Let's say maybe what your boss can do is probably talk things out between the both of you. You know, be the middle person and try to negotiate the situation. Try to find some ways to work around it. Okay. So whatever it is, don't keep it to yourself. If you are experiencing problems, it's okay to share with your direct superior so that your superior can help you mitigate that question, because that situation, because that is their role anyway. Your boss is supposed to help you overcome whatever issues that you you have. Okay, I hope that is clear. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, apparently we have another one. All right, this is from, let me read out the name of the questioner. Okay, this is also from the same person, yeah? Then, okay, the question reads, what are the examples or perhaps tips in messaging a person professionally through social media or any other apps? So that was the question.
Okay, on social media. So this is not on work-related platforms?
Not really, but perhaps work-related stuff, but through apps that you're working on. How do you actually
okay.
your messages with your colleagues? How is
okay.
it?
First of all, no short forms. Because I find that because I've been working with a lot of interns, a lot of younger generation workers, those who are of the age of 24, 25, 26, I find that they tend to use a lot of short forms. And then like us, like me being a millennial, I'm not used to it because I've always, and also because I was an English lecturer, so I'm very used to speaking in a proper manner, even while texting. So whatever it is, if you WhatsApping your friends outside of work, it's fine to use short forms, to use slangs. But when it comes to work environment or work related stuff, even on other platforms like Microsoft Teams or what else, Skype, things like that, or even WhatsApp, when you're talking to your boss, you cannot just say, hey boss, what's up? You have to keep a level of respect still, you know, like greet the person. First of all, always greet the person. Don't just say, because I have encountered this, like people messaging me just straight away, giving me a lengthy question without saying hello or introducing yourself. If you're, even if you are messaging someone you are working with on a daily basis, someone you're very close to, always say hi or hello at least. And you know, keep it, when you write something, keep it, make sure that you spell it right, and then make sure that you explain things in a professional manner, and make sure that you are detailed about what you want from that person. Okay, especially if you are contacting someone you are not familiar with. Like for myself, I do have to contact people that I'm not familiar. I have to reach out to people from other departments, other businesses, sometimes to get information, to find out things. So I would always have to introduce myself and where I'm from, which department, which business within the organization, and then explain why I am messaging this person, either via email, even via Microsoft Teams. I would always explain the purpose of me messaging and then what I want from them. And of course, after you have done that interaction, after you have gotten whatever that you requested from them, whether or not they can provide you with the information, with the assistance, always thank them. Always say, thank you so much for your time and for helping me out. All right. Bid your goodbye lah. But and if people do the same to you, always react in the same manner. Always respond in positively and proactively, even if you are busy. Okay, so always maintain that professionalism. And I hope that's clear.
Yep. Thank you. I do. We actually, as lecturers, we do actually come across things like short form, and being someone who's not really in the within the circle of the students, somehow we find it a bit difficult to understand the gist of the message. So thank you for that. That tips. Yeah, and we also we actually do have a lot of questions here for you. It shows that students are very much intrigued with our topic for today. I find it interesting also. We have another question here that reads, let me read out one of this question again. Okay, how do we remind someone politely to answer our questions? Yeah, when you're dealing with a lot of questions in the workplace, how do you remind or for someone to actually answer your question? And sometimes when you've been waiting for a while and you don't receive any response on perhaps your emails or whatnot on your questions. So how do you politely remind them to answer your email or to get back to you with that?
Okay.
Yeah, inquiry.
All right. This is something that happens quite a lot in my scope as well, because I deal with a lot of people on a daily basis. So this happens sometimes. Okay, what the best thing that you have to do is to contact via email. This is where email plays a very important role, because in emails you can track, you can keep a track of, keep a record of your communications, especially if you're working on a deadline, if you're working on a project together, and you're trying to get some very vital information from these people. Okay. Always, after every meeting, always do a recap email, okay, of whatever that is necessary, whatever that has to be done, okay, of all the deadlines and everything, and then of all the things that are required from the other parties to give back to you. When you put it in email and you CC the right people, because when you do it in email, you can include your bosses or people who are relevant, all the stakeholders that are relevant to the project in the email trail. So when it is not responded, your boss can also monitor. The people who are involved can also monitor the progress. Your boss, their boss, so that it's easier for them to push. Because sometimes as workers, you've already done so much. Okay, you've pinged them on let's say via message, you've WhatsApped them, you've texted them, but they don't reply. If you text them, your boss wouldn't know, because they cannot see the interaction there. They cannot see the effort that you've put into contacting this person unless you tell them. So it's very important to keep it in the email. This is something that my boss always tells me. For her to be able to do something about this kind of situation, for her to take action, she has to be in the loop. Okay, so sometimes we need someone superior than us to push things around, you know, because sometimes they don't get clearance from their boss, so they don't reply. Okay, so if their boss is on in the loop, then maybe after emailing them 2-3 times, but to no avail, but they didn't reply, then my boss can actually jump in and take some action, you know, or nudge their boss to nudge their staff to do something about the situation. So this is something very important. Always keep an email trail that can help verify that you have done your part and you have tried to do your best to contact this person. All right. So, and it is easier for us for projects. Keep things in emails. It's always good for us to track whatever that has happened, the progress of every project. So this is a very important thing. Emails can be a savior for us in the workplace, because sometimes we forget things, you know, in chats. Yeah, you can't really track.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Sharifa, for that. That's the answer to Aliza Anisa's question, actually. Okay, thank you for that question. That was a significant one. And we actually have another one before we can proceed with the next part. I hope you're okay with that, Madam Sharifa. This is
sure, no problem.
The question from Muhammad Firdaus Hazib Isharuddin. He was actually asking quite something that is easily overlooked, but here he's asking actually, if I'm a Muslim male and a female co-worker offers their hand for a shake, for a handshake maybe, yeah. So how can I politely decline this? Right, this is a very important. Okay. How would you politely decline someone if you're a Muslim? Because religious-wise, you're not really you can't really shake someone's hand, especially when you're on opposite. How do you do
it? Yeah. I think this is something common in our country, but most of the time, this is based on my experience. This doesn't happen quite as often in among Asians, because we already have that basic understanding that if you are of different genders, you don't, and if you're Malay or Muslim, you don't shake hands. Even in a company as big as mine, we don't see. I mean, it doesn't happen that much. It doesn't happen that much, especially with when like people like me wearing tudung, right? Wearing the scarf. So male co-workers, male clients will avoid shaking our hands. But if it happens, if a female person, especially if that person is not familiar with our culture, not familiar with the Muslim beliefs, what you can do is just straight away, probably politely, when they offer their hand, and you just politely put your hand here and like smile and nod, and they will understand. They will be they will understand, and they will appreciate you doing that. But maybe perhaps if you are dealing with international stakeholders, someone from countries that are not familiar with the Muslim regulations, the Islamic teachings, then perhaps maybe you can do that and explain, oh, I'm sorry, but I am not allowed to shake hands with a woman, or vice versa. If it's a man, if you have to shake hands with a man, you say the same thing. But whatever it is, if you want to remain professional, it's okay. You can just explain yourself in a nice way, and they will definitely understand it. Just like in other cultures, like in Japan, you cannot, I mean, they're not familiar with shaking hands, but instead they would bow, right? So, you know, it's just different customs, different beliefs, different way of doing things. Because like, for perhaps if you're working with Americans, they're very friendly. They would shake hands, they would probably hug you or something. But other countries would have different take on this. It's like a breach of boundary, you know, of personal space. So, but no matter what, wherever you are, just explain yourself in a professional way, and that should be okay.
Okay, right. So that okay, it seems like the time is not on our side, so we
Okay.
have like 10 minutes or so. So we
right.
shall continue next slide. So perhaps we could put a halt on the Q&A session first, yeah, and proceed with the agenda in your content. Okay. Back to
All
you.
right. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna be finishing soon. This is like one of my final slides anyway. So, okay, the next one is the common areas in the workplace, because when you work in a workplace, you'll have pantry, you'll have some commonly shared spaces. So for the first one is when something is not yours, please do not take it. Let's say if you need a stapler, you don't have a stapler, you have to ask for permission to get a stapler. Don't just simply go to someone's cubicle and take it. Or if you're at the pantry and you're hungry, and in the fridge there's a yogurt, but it doesn't have a name. It doesn't have it doesn't say whose it is, but we should have a level of understanding that it belongs to someone. So if it's not yours, don't take it. Okay, no matter what the situation is, unless if you know who the owner, who owns that thing, you can ask for permission to get it, because the workplace is a shared space. So it's always good to know what is yours, what belongs to you, and what you can take and what you can't take. And then in the common areas, always clean after yourself, like meeting rooms or the pantry. When you eat, clean up of yourself. Although in a lot of work offices, there are cleaning ladies or people who can help clear things up, but the professional way to do it is to clean after yourself, because it's easy. It makes it, you know, it doesn't even take a lot of effort, right? And then next is try not to be too loud. In a professional setting, everyone is doing a lot of things. Everyone has a lot of discussions, a lot of things to focus on. So try to keep the noise level to a minimum so that you don't disturb other people's concentration, because people need to work on things and they need to concentrate, especially, you know, when there are tight deadlines, you know, not everyone works the same way. I know that some people need some sort of background music, let's say, when they are working. So they don't like when they're just alone with their thoughts. They like listening to music. It motivates them when they work. But if you're in a shared space, you have to respect other people's let's say privacy as well. Okay, so listen to music using your earphones. That would be best. Okay, instead of trespassing other people's space with a lot of noise. If you're having meetings via virtual, but you're in the office and everyone can hear your conversation, that's not that is not how you should do it. You should always, if you don't have your earphones with you, then find a space that is quiet, like a small meeting room or something that is a bit farther away from your other colleagues, where you won't disturb them. Okay, and where you won't distract them from whatever that they are doing. And then other than that, you know, in Malaysia we have a lot of food, you know, and all our foods taste good, but they also smell really strong sometimes. You know, we might, because we're Asians, we love our food, we love our rendang, we love our durian, and we're used to this kind of smells. And so probably for all of us, most of us, we don't mind this kind of strong smelling meals. You know, you can eat them at the office, at the shared pantry, or at your cubicle. But if let's say if you work with people who are not from the same culture, not from the same background, not from the same ethnicity, they might not be familiar with the scent of tempoyak that you bring to your office. You know, so you have to be mindful of that as well, because the office is a shared space. So ensure that you respect other people's olfactory senses as well. It is something that is, I think, overlooked by people, except when they are living in, they're working in an international setting where you have a lot of foreigners, and then you are more careful because they are very not familiar with the food that we eat. Because, you know, like it or not, strong smelling food can actually be distracting for people. You know? Like for me, I love durian, but if I don't eat durian, I don't like smelling durian nearby me. So, and in the office, I wouldn't want to smell durian unless if it's for an event, you know, like everyone is enjoying durian. But while working on something urgent, I don't want to be smelling durian, you know, it'll give me headache instead. Okay. And then, the fifth one is limit distractions. I think I've covered that by in the same scope as the not being too loud. So try to limit distraction for others, like noise, or maybe even like if you're kind of free at a time and you want to like just, you know, stretch for a bit, you want to walk around to other people's cubicles, you want to say hello, you want to like de-stress and chat for a bit. But if your friend or if your colleague, your boss is busy, you can see that while talking, they're like busy looking at their laptops and they're like going back and forth. They're not focused on you. Try to just, you know, move on along and go somewhere else. Maybe stretch your legs outside of the office or something, because maybe you're free, but other people are quite packed with whatever that they're supposed to do. Maybe they have to catch a deadline, and so try to limit the distraction for them. Okay, so by doing that, you are professionally respecting their what they are doing. Okay, and then lastly, so this is the last bit of my sharing today. So in a virtual setting, do we still need to have etiquette? I don't have people to respond to. But yeah, I would say in a virtual setting, etiquette is still very necessary. And then, but it is sometimes overlooked. Okay, so just a bit on this. Okay, I think most of the lecturers here and students can also reflect to this. In a virtual setting, you know, we have meetings, we have classes, we have engagements virtually. It is easy to feel alone. You know, like right now, I'm thankful because I can see the rest of the lecturers on screen right now with me, engaging with me. So I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. But oftentimes, and I'm sure the lecturers here will share this sentiment, oftentimes you feel like you're talking on your own, especially if everyone is muted, you know, everyone is not responding to you, you'll feel like, am I alone here? Like, hello, am I alone here? Is anyone else with me? Is anyone there? So make sure that, first of all, if in the future, you know, this work from home, virtual, remote working environment still is still relevant, to at least show that you are present, even if you are not. I mean, you don't have to switch on your mic and tell people, always jump in and interject. You don't have to do that, but at least like we have the chat section. We have the chat section, so you can communicate via the chat section, you know, or maybe you can, in some platforms like Microsoft Teams, you have the buttons where you can clap, or you can show thumbs up, or you can give love, the heart emoji. So let your presence be known in those ways, you know. And then next is switch on your camera. I think, although it takes more time when you're working from home, when you're, it takes time and effort to actually look presentable, especially for women. I think it's easy for men. They just put on a shirt, they're done. For girls, we have to, especially for Muslim women, we have to wear our hijab. We have to put on a bit of lipstick, otherwise we look like zombies. Like for me, I will look like a zombie if I don't have lipstick on. You have to put a bit of effort to switch on your camera. But even though it takes effort, it is still for me, it is still necessary, because it is easier, because you want to feel connected to people. Like for me, when I talk to people, I want to see the eye contact. I want to see people reacting to me, because then I know that people are taking in what I'm saying, so people understand. I see the reaction. So switching on your camera. So like for students, like you guys can apply this now. Like even in the morning, if you have morning classes, you know, it's best if you like shower a bit. Even if you don't want to shower, at least put on something nice, brush your teeth, wash your face, and then like sit in front of the laptop and switch on your camera, so your lecturers can see your face. I'm sure you have you know, and I think in the virtual setting for the past 2 years plus, I think even some lecturers don't even know how their students look like, because nobody switches on their camera. So we gotta see, I mean, for us to get to know each other, we gotta see each other face to face. Even with the virtual limitation, it's easily remedied by switching on your camera. Just make a bit of effort and, you know, switch on the camera. All right, and then next is dress appropriately. Of course, when we are working from home virtually, we still need to put a bit of effort. Like I mentioned, like I've been working from home for 2 years. I've recently, for the past few months, gone back to the office. But we are still like, I know there are days when we still work from home. But for me personally, I make an effort to look presentable. Although I don't have any meetings, even if I don't have meetings, I would still try. If I have time, I would still try to dress up, spray some perfume, put on a bit of makeup, and then work, because then at least I feel like a human being in front of the laptop. So dress appropriately. If you have virtual meetings, like I can see here on my screen, everyone is dressed appropriately. Can you wear your kaftan or your pajamas when you work from home, when you switch on your camera? I don't think that's very appropriate. Or wear your, like for men to wear singlet, you know, those pagoda style singlet. You know, you have meetings and, you know, you're talking in front of the camera and you wear your pajama. That is definitely not okay. So no matter what, if even virtually, you have to dress the part. You have to look professional, at least the top part. It doesn't matter what you wear on the bottom half, but at least the top part has to look presentable. Okay. And then one more thing is, of course, if possible, if you're not being spoken to, or if it's not your turn to speak, keep yourself muted, because otherwise it can be distracting for other people, because the noise from your external environment can be distracting for other people who are listening in. Okay. And lastly, even virtual, we need to be on time. It is easier to be on time virtually because you can be present anytime, anywhere. Even if you're in the car, you can, you know, stop by the roadside and join in a meeting. Okay, it is easier. Working virtually makes you more accessible, more available. But of course, there are still people who come late, you know, especially if you have meetings in the morning. So yeah, I think there are other things that that could play a part, because this is not exhaustive. Being professional is a lot of effort, but like I mentioned in the early part of the sharing, it is something that you learn over time. Of course, when you first start going into the working environment, you might need to familiarize yourself with the company's culture and etiquette, because every company, every country is different. Like in Japan, maybe it is ethical, maybe it is professional to take short naps in the office. It is okay because it shows that you're working very hard, you're taking a break. But in other countries, it's not okay. In some other organization, it's okay for you to go back early, shows you that you're being productive. But in other organization, or in like something like countries like Japan or Korea, it's not okay for you to go back early, especially not earlier than your boss. So it really depends on where you are at, on the locality, on the culture, on the code of conduct that organization of the organization that you're in. So yeah, so basically that's about it, I think, right?
Okay, right. So thank you very much, Madam Sharifa. It was a great sharing indeed. Yeah, it's always great to hear from someone who's been there in the actual happening in the industry, who's having the first-hand experience of whatever is happening in the workplace. And I particularly like your insight into the privacy in the workplace. Yeah, because we need to keep our personal life off from our working. Okay, so thanks for sharing again your experience with us, so we can take calculated measures for things that would possibly lie ahead. And I think that should conclude our session for today. And this is a little reminder for everyone that whatever questions that you might have had asked in the Zoom or in our YouTube comment sections, we'll address that, and we'll convey the questions to Madam Sharifa for her to answer all your queries, and we shall proceed with sharing the question with you via your, through your respective lecturers. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us in this webinar for today, and hopefully everyone has benefited tremendously from the sharing, like I did. Yeah, right. So would you please join me in thanking our guest speaker for today, Madam Sharifa, for that wonderful sharing about the workplace etiquette. And thank you everyone again for joining us for this session. And have a wonderful weekend ahead. Assalamualaikum, and a very good day. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ashikin, and your ITM and fellow lecturers and students for having me today. Okay, thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone. Assalamualaikum.